Listen to me. Every excuse you hold on to is stealing from the future you're supposed to build. Excuses don't care about your dreams, your grind, or your family's legacy. They want to chain you down, keep you average, keep you quiet. But today, we ain't playing with excuses no more. Today, you decide if your excuses get to live or if your vision finally breathes. Excuses kill discipline because discipline is the foundation of everything you want to become and everything you want to build. And excuses are termites that eat away at that foundation until there's nothing left to stand on. Discipline is about doing what needs to be done regardless of how you feel, regardless of whether it's convenient, regardless of whether you feel motivated in the moment. Excuses step in like a thief and say, not today, you're tired, you need to rest. You'll do it tomorrow, and before you know it, tomorrow turns into weeks, weeks turn into months, and you're standing in the same place wondering why your dreams still look so far away. Excuses don't show up loud, they show up quiet, like whispers convincing you that one missed workout doesn't matter. One skipped assignment won't hurt. One broken promise to yourself is no big deal. But those whispers add up, and each time you buy into them, you're teaching yourself that your word doesn't mean much. You're training yourself that comfort is more important than commitment. That's how discipline dies, not in one dramatic failure, but in 1,000 little excuses that pile up until you no longer recognize the person staring back at you in the mirror. When you build discipline, you are telling your mind and your body that you are in control, not your feelings, not your fears, not your excuses. It's about training yourself to show up no matter what, to do the work when it's raining, when you're tired, when nobody's watching, because that's the real test. Excuses want you to believe you're justified. They want you to believe you've earned the right to take it easy. But discipline doesn't negotiate. Discipline doesn't compromise. Discipline says you made a commitment. Now honor it. Discipline is repetition. It is consistency. It is the daily grind of building habits that don't bend to the moods of the moment. Excuses will kill that by making everything negotiable. They turn musts into maybes. They turn priorities into options. They turn commitments into suggestions. And when your life starts running on suggestions, on options, on maybes, your dreams don't survive because success doesn't bow to excuses. Success bows to discipline. Think about the greatest athletes, soldiers, leaders, entrepreneurs. Their success was never about one moment of greatness. It was about an unshakable commitment to discipline. It was about waking up early, about sticking to the plan, about grinding even when nobody clapped for them. Excuses are allergic to that kind of mindset. Excuses want shortcuts. They want the reward without the sacrifice. They want the glory without the grind. And every time you choose an excuse over discipline, you weaken the muscle of self-control. You teach yourself that quitting is easier than pushing through. That comfort is more valuable than growth. That settling is safer than striving. Excuses kill discipline because they reprogram your mind to expect results without responsibility, and that mindset will never lead to greatness. When you let excuses win, you're letting weakness write your story. Discipline is forged in moments where excuses sound the loudest. It's when you're exhausted, when your back hurts, when life hits you with setbacks, that excuses try to convince you to fold. That's when you have to dig deep and remember why you started. Discipline isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. Excuses kill that persistence because they sound logical, they sound rational, they sound like they're protecting you. Rest today, you need it. Skip the meeting, it won't matter. Put it off, you've got time. And the worst part is excuses always disguise themselves as compassion. But it's fake compassion. It's a trick to keep you from demanding more of yourself. Discipline is real compassion because it's love for your future self. It's protection for your goals. It's respect for your potential. Excuses want you soft, discipline wants you sharp. Excuses want you stagnant, discipline wants you moving. Excuses want you comfortable, discipline wants you legendary. The truth is, every time you give in to excuses, you're not just missing a task, you're training yourself to surrender. You're creating a pattern, and that pattern is lethal. Excuses kill discipline by making surrender normal, by making quitting acceptable, by making weakness feel justified. And once that becomes normal, you stop expecting greatness from yourself. You settle into mediocrity because you've taught your mind to believe that excuses are acceptable currency for your dreams. They're not. They never were. Excuses rob you of time. They rob you of energy. They rob you of belief. Discipline pays you back in progress, in confidence, in results. Discipline is the ability to look at an excuse and say, not today. It's the ability to hear that voice that says, stay in bed and choose to get up anyway. It's the ability to feel pain and keep moving, to feel doubt and keep pushing, to feel fear and still step forward. Excuses kill that ability because they silence the warrior in you and amplify the coward. They turn small obstacles into big reasons to quit. They magnify discomfort until it feels unbearable. They exaggerate failure until it feels final. Excuses don't want you disciplined because discipline makes you dangerous. Discipline makes you unstoppable. Discipline makes you the kind of person who doesn't wait for opportunities, but creates them. Excuses can't coexist with that version of you, so they do everything they can to destroy it before it fully emerges. Every moment of weakness is a battleground. Discipline and excuses are fighting for control over your choices, over your actions, over your life. Excuses will kill discipline if you let them, but only if you let them. Discipline demands sacrifice. Excuses demand surrender. One builds you, one breaks you. One earns respect. One breeds regret. One creates legacy. One creates mediocrity. And every single day, every single choice, you're deciding which one wins. Vision requires sacrifice because a true vision will always demand more from you than you think you can give. A vision is not a casual wish, not a vague dream you entertain when you're comfortable. It's a relentless fire that refuses to let you sleep when you haven't done the work. It is a standard that pulls you higher and higher until the person you are today is no longer enough to carry the weight of what you see for yourself tomorrow. And to rise into that future, something must be surrendered. Comfort, distractions must be surrendered. Weak habits must be surrendered. Excuses must be surrendered. Every person who has carried a great vision into reality has bled for it, cried for it, been broken down for it. Because vision does not reward the half. Committed, it rewards the relentless. When you decide to live for vision, you must accept that sacrifice will become your language. Time with friends might have to be traded for time with the grind. Late nights might have to turn into early mornings. Comfort foods might have to be swapped for discipline in what you eat, how you train, how you treat your body. Entertainment might have to give way to education. Scrolling through might have to give way to studying the craft that will bring your vision alive. People will call it obsession. But what they don't understand is that vision doesn't leave room for half-hearted effort. Vision requires all of you, and that means parts of you that you once protected will have to die for something greater to be born. The reason most people never see their vision realized is because they want the promise without the price. They want the outcome without the offering. They want the blessing without the blood. They admire the dream, but they are unwilling to endure the discipline that dream demands. A vision doesn't bend to your convenience. It doesn't shrink to fit your comfort zone. It stretches you. It squeezes you. It pulls the old skin off you until you're raw, until you're tested, until you're ready to handle what you asked for. The vision doesn't just hand you results. It shapes you into the person worthy of holding those results. And shaping always requires sacrifice. When you look at history, at the great names etched into the memory of humanity. The story is always the same. They gave up things others weren't willing to give. They missed parties, they missed pleasures, they missed shortcuts because their eyes were locked on something bigger than the moment. They understood that every yes to vision requires 1,000 no's to distraction. Every yes to discipline requires 1,000 no's to comfort. Every yes to sacrifice brings you one step closer to the dream that others will never touch because they refuse to pay the cost. Sacrifice is the proof of how badly you want what you say you want. Words are cheap, feelings are temporary, motivation fades, but sacrifice is permanent. Sacrifice is measurable. Sacrifice says you are willing to bleed, you are willing to cry, you are willing to stand alone if that's what it takes. Sacrifice says you're serious. And the bigger the vision, the greater the sacrifice it will demand. You cannot carry a massive vision on the shoulders of a small work ethic. You cannot reach extraordinary dreams with ordinary effort. Something has to be given up so something greater can be gained. Vision requires you to sacrifice relationships that don't align with it. People who don't believe in it. People who drain your energy. People who mock your dreams. If they won't rise with you, they cannot stay with you. That doesn't mean you stop loving them, but it means you stop letting them steer you. Because vision is fragile in its early stages, and if you allow the wrong voices to shape it, you'll kill it before it has a chance to grow. Sometimes the sacrifice is loneliness. Sometimes the sacrifice is misunderstanding. Sometimes the sacrifice is carrying the weight of being doubted. But the vision doesn't care about your comfort. It cares about your commitment. Sacrifice also shows up in the form of discipline over desire. Your body will crave ease, your mind will crave escape, your emotions will crave relief. But vision is bigger than cravings. Vision demands that you push through hunger, through fatigue, through boredom, through fear. Sacrifice means doing the reps when your muscles scream, reading the pages when your eyes are heavy, making the calls when you'd rather stay silent, putting in the hours when no one is clapping. Every one of those sacrifices is a seed planted in the soil of your vision. And the harvest only comes to those who are willing to plant without guarantee, to water without applause, to wait without immediate reward. Sacrifice often feels unfair because you look around and see others living easier lives, indulging in pleasures you've denied yourself. But what you have to remember is that the cost of vision is front loaded. You pay the price now so you can live the payoff later. Those who avoid sacrifice enjoy temporary ease, but pay with long-term regret. Those who embrace sacrifice endure temporary struggle, but receive long-term fulfillment. The vision separates you because the price separates you. The majority will always choose excuses, comfort, and average. The minority will choose sacrifice, discipline, and greatness. Vision requires sacrifice because vision is heavy. It's not a light thing to carry an idea, a dream, a destiny that can change lives, change families, change generations. That weight will break the undisciplined. It will crush the excuse maker. It will suffocate the lazy. Only sacrifice builds the strength to carry it. Sacrifice toughens you. It hardens your resolve. It burns away weakness until only determination remains. Each sacrifice is like iron forged in fire, shaping you into a weapon sharp enough to cut through every obstacle between you and your dream. You will have to sacrifice fear. You will have to sacrifice doubt. You will have to sacrifice the comforts of staying small. Vision will call you to stand on stages you feel unworthy of, to chase goals that scare you, to step into arenas where failure is public and painful. And the only way to step forward is to sacrifice the illusion of safety. You give up the comfort of certainty in exchange for the possibility of greatness. You trade the familiar for the unknown because vision always lives beyond the horizon of what you already know. At times, sacrifice will feel like loss, but it is not loss, it is investment. It is a down payment on the future you've seen in your mind. It is a declaration that what you're building is worth more than what you're giving up. Every time you sacrifice comfort for growth, you're telling the vision you are serious. Every time you sacrifice excuses for effort, you're telling the vision you are ready. Every time you sacrifice immediate pleasure for long-term purpose, you're telling the vision you can be trusted. Vision requires sacrifice because vision is not cheap. It is not easy. It is not for everyone. It is reserved for those willing to pay the full price without guarantee, without applause, without shortcuts. Pain is the price of growth because growth never comes from ease. It never comes from staying comfortable. It never comes from repeating the same actions that kept you in the same place. Growth demands that you step into discomfort, that you challenge your body, your mind, your spirit to go beyond their current limits. And every time you push past the limit, pain is there waiting. Pain in your muscles when you train harder than yesterday. Pain in your mind when you study longer than your focus wants to last. Pain in your heart when you keep moving through rejection, doubt, and failure. That pain is not a signal to quit. It's a signal that you are on the threshold of change, a signal that the old version of you is being broken down so a stronger version can be built. Pain is the price, and those who refuse to pay it remain trapped in the prison of mediocrity, watching others evolve while they stay the same. The reason pain is tied to growth is because growth is disruption. It interrupts old patterns. It tears away what is weak. It replaces comfort with challenge, and the human mind and body resist that process. That resistance is felt as pain. But pain is not punishment. Pain is proof. Proof that you are stretching. Proof that you are not where you used to be. Proof that your system is adapting to a new demand. Just like muscles grow only when they are torn in training, your character grows only when life stretches you to the point where you think you can't take it anymore. Without that tearing, without that struggle, you remain the same size, the same strength, the same capacity. Pain is the sculptor's chisel, breaking away what doesn't belong so the masterpiece can be revealed. When people run from pain, they are really running from growth. They are choosing ease over evolution, choosing comfort over capacity, choosing the short-term relief of avoiding struggle over the long-term reward of transformation. That is why so many never become who they are capable of becoming. They misinterpret pain as a stop sign instead of a green light. They think pain means they are going the wrong way, when in truth, pain is the compass pointing them in the right direction. Every meaningful achievement in history was purchased with pain. The pain of sacrifice, the pain of discipline, the pain of rejection, the pain of failure, the pain of relentless repetition. No one escapes it. The only difference between those who grow and those who don't is that the first group embraces it, while the second group avoids it. Think about the athlete training at dawn, body sore, lungs burning, legs heavy. Every rep is pain, but every rep is progress. Without that pain, the body does not adapt. Without that pain, speed doesn't increase, endurance doesn't expand, strength doesn't grow. Or consider the student staying up late, eyes heavy, mind tired, pushing through page after page. The mental pain of stretching beyond what they thought they could understand is what sharpens their intellect. Or the entrepreneur risking everything, facing failure after failure, enduring the emotional pain of doubt and uncertainty. That pain is what teaches resilience, creativity, persistence. Growth is not born from the easy days. Growth is born from the painful ones. The days where you want to quit, but you don't. The days where you feel weak, but keep going. The days where life hits you hard, but you refuse to stay down. Pain refines you because it strips away illusions. It reveals what you are made of. When things are easy, you can pretend you're disciplined. You can pretend you're committed. You can pretend you're strong. But when pain arrives, there is no pretending. Pain exposes weakness. Pain exposes excuses. Pain exposes the gap between who you say you are and who you really are. And that exposure is uncomfortable, but it is necessary because you cannot grow without truth. Pain delivers that truth. It shows you where you need to be stronger, where you need to be tougher, where you need to be wiser. It breaks the illusion that growth can be painless. And once you accept that reality, you stop fearing pain and start using it. Most people try to numb pain instead of learning from it. Look for distractions, shortcuts, escapes, ways to avoid feeling the discomfort that comes with change. But every time you numb pain, you delay growth. Every time you avoid it, you choose weakness over strength. The greatest growth happens not when you run from pain, but when you lean into it, when you accept that the fire is necessary to forge steel. A diamond is only created under immense pressure. A seed only grows when it breaks through the soil. A warrior is only forged in battle. Pain is the environment where greatness is born, and those avoid are choosing to remain ordinary. There is also a different kind of pain, the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. Discipline is painful in the moment. Waking up early, sacrificing comfort, enduring the grind, but regret is painful forever. And when you understand that growth comes through the pain of discipline, you start to see pain differently. You see it as an ally, not an enemy. You begin to realize that every moment of pain you endure today is saving you from the deeper pain of regret tomorrow. The pain of growth lasts for a season, but the reward lasts for a lifetime. The pain of regret lasts a lifetime, and the reward never comes. Pain also builds empathy because when you grow through your own struggles, you learn to recognize the struggles in others. You learn to lead with strength, but also with understanding. Pain deepens your character in a way that ease never could. Ease makes you soft, but pain makes you sharp. Ease makes you complacent, but pain keeps you hungry. Ease lulls you to sleep, but pain wakes you up. That's why growth requires pain. It keeps you alive, aware, alert, awake to your purpose. When you embrace pain, you stop seeing it as something happening to you and start seeing it as something happening for you. Pain becomes the proof that you are in the process of transformation. You stop resisting it and start respecting it. You start realizing that the very moments you wanted to quit are the very moments that were shaping you. Pain is not there to break you. It is there to break the limits that surround you. It is there to carve away the laziness, excuses, the weakness that would have kept you from growing. Pain is the hand that pushes you into a bigger version of yourself, a version that cannot be created any other way. Accountability builds strength because strength is not just about muscle, not just about endurance, not just about talent. It's about the ability to carry weight without breaking. And accountability is weight. Accountability is when you give someone else the right to check you, to call you out, to hold you to a standard that is higher than your feelings, higher than your excuses, higher than your moods. Most people want freedom without accountability, but what they don't understand is that freedom without accountability is weakness. It makes you soft. It makes you reckless. It makes you undisciplined. Accountability forces you to measure yourself not by what you say, but by what you do, not by your intentions, but by your actions. And that constant check builds a strength that cannot be faked. When you live accountable, you are not just responsible for yourself in private, you are responsible in the presence of others. That weight makes you stronger because it eliminates the option of hiding. You can lie to yourself. You can justify your excuses to yourself. But when you stand in front of someone who knows your goals, who knows your vision, who knows your commitment, you cannot hide behind weak words. Accountability strips away the mask of comfort and forces you to confront reality. And in confronting reality, you get stronger because you stop running from the truth. Weakness thrives in secrecy. Strength thrives in exposure. Accountability exposes you, and that exposure is the training ground for greatness. Think about the weight room. You can lift heavier when someone is spotting you because their presence holds you accountable to push through the last rep you would have quit on by yourself. That's not just physical strength. That's mental strength built through accountability. The same applies in life. When you know someone is watching, when you know someone will ask about your progress, when you know someone will demand to see the receipts of your work, you show up differently. You show up sharper. You show up stronger. That pressure builds a resilience that casual effort will never build. Accountability multiplies strength because it refuses to let you settle for half effort. People resist accountability because it feels heavy, it feels uncomfortable, it feels like losing control. But that's the point. The very discomfort that makes you want to resist is the same discomfort that forces you to grow. Accountability demands consistency. It doesn't let you slack on your commitments. It doesn't let you rewrite the rules when you feel tired. It doesn't let you escape the consequences of laziness. And that demand, that non-negotiable standard, builds strength in the same way resistance builds muscle. Without resistance, the body stays weak. Without accountability, your character stays weak. Accountability is resistance training for the soul, and the heavier it feels, the stronger it makes you. Accountability builds integrity, and integrity is strength. When your words and your actions align, when what you promise is what you deliver, you become unshakable. Accountability is what keeps those lines straight. It doesn't allow you to talk big and live small. It forces you to become what you claim to be. And every time you deliver under accountability, you reinforce the muscle of integrity. You become a person whose strength isn't just physical, it's moral, it's mental, it's spiritual. That strength cannot be bought. It must be built. And accountability is the hammer that forges it. Accountability also builds endurance. Life will test you with long seasons where results don't come quickly, where progress feels invisible, where motivation runs dry. In those seasons, accountability keeps you moving. It keeps you from quitting when nobody is watching. It reminds you that someone is expecting your best even when you feel at your worst. That endurance, that ability to keep showing up under pressure becomes strength that carries into every area of your life. The soldier becomes strong not because the battle is easy, but because the accountability of his unit won't let him stop. The athlete becomes strong not because training is convenient, but because the accountability of the team won't let him slack. The leader becomes strong not because the path is smooth, but because the accountability of those who follow demands he rise, even when he feels like falling. There's also a deeper level. Accountability to yourself. External accountability builds strength, but internal accountability is where true power is born. When you can't escape yourself, when you've trained your conscience to hold you accountable to your own standards, you carry an unshakable strength. Because no matter who is watching or who isn't, you know you owe it to yourself to rise, to push, to deliver. That inner accountability is the hardest weight to carry because you can't lie to it. You can't excuse your way out of it. You can't avoid it. But the more you carry it, the stronger you get. The world can take away applause. The world can take away recognition. But if you've built strength through accountability to yourself, nothing can take away the power of your discipline. Accountability also forces growth in leadership. A leader without accountability is a tyrant. A leader with accountability is strong. When you allow others to check your blind spots, when you invite correction, when you embrace feedback, you're not weaker, you're stronger. Because the strongest leaders are not the ones who pretend to know everything, but the ones who are humble enough to be held accountable. That humility builds strength in character, and that strength inspires trust. People follow strength, but they also follow honesty, and accountability is what marries the two. Strength is built by pressure, and accountability is pressure. The pressure of someone saying, "Did you finish what you promised?" The pressure of someone saying, "Are you living up to the standard you set?" The pressure of someone saying, don't tell me what you'll do, show me what you've done. That pressure feels heavy, but pressure is what creates diamonds. Without accountability, you're just coal sitting under the weight of potential. With accountability, you are transformed into something rare, something unbreakable. The truth is, accountability is not about control, it's about commitment. It's about proving that your word matters, that your goals matter, that your vision matters. Weakness hides, the strength stands in the light. Weakness makes excuses, strength accepts responsibility. Weakness avoids pressure, strength invites it. Accountability is the difference between the person who folds under pressure and the person who carries it like fuel. It builds a strength that is deeper than the surface, a strength that holds when life throws its hardest blows, a strength that doesn't just endure storms, but becomes stronger because of them. Excuses bury dreams alive because every time you allow an excuse to take control, you are digging a grave for the very vision you said you wanted to live for. Excuses sound small, they sound innocent, they sound harmless, but they are poison disguised as comfort. They tell you, you can start tomorrow. You're not ready yet. You don't have the resources. You don't have the time. And little by little, while you are agreeing with them, your dream is suffocating under the weight of delay. Dreams don't die in one moment. They die slowly, buried under layers of excuses until one day you look up and realize years have passed, opportunities have passed, and the future you wanted is no longer in reach. Excuses are the shovel in your own hand. And with every excuse you make, you're the one putting dirt over your own destiny. The dangerous thing about excuses is how believable they sound. They don't shout quit. They whisper wait. They don't scream give up. They softly suggest later. And because they sound reasonable, you buy into them, you protect them, you defend them. You start saying, I'll do it when I have more money. I'll do it when I have more time. I'll do it when I feel ready. But here's the truth. There is no perfect time. There is no perfect condition. There is no magic moment where life lines everything up for you. Those excuses are lies designed to keep you from moving. And while you stand still, your dreams are being buried. Every day you don't act. Every day you choose comfort over courage. Every day you listen to fear dressed up as reason. The dirt piles higher. And the dream that once kept you awake at night, the dream that once burned in your heart, becomes nothing but a memory of what could have been. Excuses are dream killers because they replace responsibility with rationalization. Instead of admitting, I didn't do the work, you say, I couldn't because I was busy. Instead of saying, I wasn't disciplined, you say, I didn't feel motivated. Instead of owning the truth, you cover it with excuses, and in covering it, you cover your chance to grow. Growth only happens when you face the truth, when you admit the gap between where you are and where you should be. Excuses block that honesty, and by blocking honesty, they block progress. They bury the dream by burying you in denial. You can't fix what you won't face, and excuses make sure you never face it. Dreams are fragile in the beginning. They need action, they need faith, they need persistence. Excuses starve them of all three. Excuses take away action by convincing you to delay. Excuses take away faith by convincing you that you're not ready or not capable. Excuses take away persistence by convincing you that struggle means stop. And once the dream is starved, it doesn't take long before it dies. The saddest thing is not that people lack dreams. It's that they bury them alive with their own excuses, watching them suffocate slowly while pretending they still believe. Think about how many people say they want to start a business, but they never do because the timing isn't right. They want to write a book, but they never do because they don't have enough time. They want to change their life, but they never do because they're too old or too young or too busy or too broke Every one of those excuses is a shovel full of dirt on top of their dream. The business could have thrived. The book could have inspired. The change could have transformed everything. But none of it saw the light of day because excuses buried it alive. Excuses don't just kill possibility. They rob not only you, but everyone who would have been touched by what you built if only you had moved without waiting for perfect conditions. Excuses are also contagious. When you live by them, you teach others around you to live by them. You normalize quitting. You normalize mediocrity. You normalize lowering the standard. And in doing so, you're not just burying your own dream, you're burying the dreams of those who look up to you, those who depend on you, those who are influenced by you. Excuses don't just cost you. They cost your family, your team, your community. They bury more than your vision. They bury the ripple effect your vision was supposed to create. And that is why excuses are so dangerous, because they don't just kill one dream. They suffocate generations of possibility. When you choose excuses, you are trading temporary comfort for permanent loss. The comfort of staying in bed over the discomfort of training. The comfort of procrastinating over the discomfort of discipline. The comfort of blaming others over the discomfort of taking responsibility. Each choice feels small in the moment, but over time, those choices accumulate into a life defined not by what you accomplished, but by what you avoided. And that avoidance is the soil where buried dreams rot. No one sets out to waste their potential, but potential is wasted every time excuses win the battle against action. Excuses bury dreams alive because they trick you into believing you have more time than you actually do. You think tomorrow will come. You think opportunities will wait. You think you can circle back when it's easier. But time doesn't slow down for excuses. Time moves forward, and every day you don't act, the dream gets further away. Eventually you run out of days, and the only thing left is regret. Regret is the echo of buried dreams. It's the voice that says, you had a chance, but you didn't take it. It's the weight of knowing the only thing that stood between you and your vision was not lack of talent, not lack of resources, not lack of opportunity. It was the excuses you chose to believe. Excuses are deceptive because they let you feel safe while you're actually losing. They give you the illusion that you're protecting yourself from failure. But in reality, you're guaranteeing it. You don't fail when you try and fall short. You fail when you never try at all. Excuses are a comfortable form of failure, failure without confrontation, failure without effort, failure without pain. But it's still failure. And it's worse than real failure because real failure teaches you, strengthens you, sharpens you, while excuses just leave you stuck. Real failure can be resurrected into success, but excuses bury your dream so deep that sometimes you don't even realize it's gone until it's too late. The truth is that your dream is always at war with your excuses. Only one can survive. If you feed the dream with discipline, sacrifice, and persistence, it grows stronger. If you feed the excuses with delay, fear, and justification, they grow stronger. And the stronger the excuses get, the deeper your dream is buried. That's why people reach a point in life where they don't even talk about their dreams anymore. They stop mentioning them. They stop believing in them because they've buried them so deep under years of excuses that it's painful to even remember what they once wanted. That is the tragedy of excuses. They don't just kill potential, they erase hope. Legacy demands action because a legacy is not built on intentions. It is not built on dreams left in journals. It is not built on promises whispered in the dark. It is built on the concrete steps you take day after day. Legacy is proof of movement, evidence of consistency, the accumulation of choices that stack on top of each other until they outlive you. A vision without action is imagination. And imagination doesn't leave footprints for others to follow. Action is what carves your story into the ground of history. Legacy is not about what you wanted to do. It's about what you actually did, what you actually created, what you actually endured. And the price of legacy is paid in sweat, in sacrifice, in persistence, in action that refuses to be silenced. When you act, you build. When you hesitate, you bury. Legacy has no room for hesitation because time is not loyal to your excuses. The clock is ticking whether you move or not. Legacy is about choosing to make that clock work for you instead of against you. Every day you move, every day you act, every day you do something that aligns with your vision, you add a brick to the structure of your legacy. Excuses and hesitation don't add bricks, they add dust. And when you look back at your life, you either see a structure standing tall or an empty lot covered in dust. That's why legacy demands action. Because without action, there is no evidence you were here, no impact you made, no weight you left on the world. Action is the bridge between the dream and the reality, between the vision in your head and the results in your hands. Too many people die with the bridge unbuilt because they were waiting for the right time to start building. But legacy doesn't wait. Legacy doesn't care about perfect timing. Legacy is born in imperfect action, in the messy middle, in the days when you move forward, even though you don't have everything figured out. The person who waits for perfect never leaves a legacy. The person who acts, who learns through failure, who keeps going despite mistakes, that is the one whose name gets remembered. Legacy also demands action because legacy is not for you alone. It's for the people who come after you. Your children, your family, your community, the ones who will either benefit from your courage or suffer from your excuses. Every action you take ripples forward into lives you may never see. The effort you put in today becomes someone else's foundation tomorrow. The sacrifices you make today become someone else's freedom tomorrow. The discipline you live by today becomes someone else's inspiration tomorrow. That's what legacy is about. It is the inheritance of your actions, the gift of your grind, the echo of your persistence. And if you fail to act, you don't just rob yourself, you rob everyone connected to you. Action creates stories, and stories are what people remember. Nobody tells stories about what you intended to do. Nobody is inspired by what you thought about doing. Nobody changes their life because of a dream you kept to yourself. They are moved by what you did. They are moved by the risks you took, the obstacles you overcame, the victories you earned. Action is what creates testimonies. Action is what builds evidence. Action is what turns your life into a story worth telling. Legacy is a story written in action. And every day you live, you are writing another page. The question is whether those pages will inspire or whether they will be blank. Action is also the test of belief. You can say you believe in your dream. You can say you believe in your vision. But if there is no action, then it's not belief. It's fantasy. Real belief moves you. Real belief pushes you out of bed when you're tired, keeps you grinding when nobody is watching, carries you forward when fear tells you to stop. Legacy demands that kind of belief, the belief that is proven by action, because only action leaves a mark deep enough to survive time. Words fade, excuses fade, feelings fade, but action echoes. What you do cannot be erased. Legacy demands action, because life will not slow down for you to catch up. The world keeps moving, opportunities keep shifting, time keeps slipping, and the only way to keep up is to move with it. Action is momentum, and momentum builds power. The more you act, the stronger your legacy becomes. One choice leads to another, one step leads to another, and soon the actions compound into a force that cannot be ignored. Inaction, on the other hand, compounds in the opposite direction. One delay leads to another, one excuse leads to another, and soon you've buried years under the weight of nothing. The legacy you wanted slips away, not because you weren't capable, but because you didn't act when it mattered. The truth is that legacy is urgent. People act like they have forever to build it, but forever is a lie. You don't know how much time you have. You don't know how many days are left. And because of that, Every single day matters. Legacy doesn't wait for the end of your life. It's being written now, in this moment, with what you choose to do today. The urgency of action is the engine of legacy. Every time you put something off, you're gambling with your future, betting that you'll have time to make it up later. But legacy doesn't gamble. It builds, and building only happens when you move. Action also separates talkers from doers. The world is full of people who talk about their vision, who hype their dreams, who share their goals, but very few back up their words with consistent action. And in the end, legacy is not about who talked the loudest, it's about who worked the hardest. Action separates the ones who will be remembered from the ones who will be forgotten. Talk fades with time, but action leaves tracks in the ground, and those tracks become the path others follow. Legacy demands action because action requires courage, and courage is contagious. When you act boldly, when you refuse to let fear paralyze you, when you move forward even when you feel uncertain, you give permission to others to do the same. Your action becomes their inspiration. Your courage becomes their courage. That's how legacy multiplies. Not just by what you achieve, but by how your action empowers others to achieve. If you don't act, the inspiration dies, the movement stops. But when you act, the fire spreads, and that fire burns long after you're gone. Action also demands sacrifice, and sacrifice is what makes legacy meaningful. If something costs you nothing, it won't be remembered. Legacy is remembered because it came at a price. Your time, your sweat, your comfort, your tears. People don't respect legacies that were handed over. They respect legacies that were earned. And earning always requires action. You cannot inherit greatness without action. You cannot pass on greatness without action. The only way legacy has weight is if action gave it weight. In the end, legacy is not about someday, it's about today. It's about how you move right now, what you choose right now, what you build right now. The dream in your head, the vision in your heart, the fire in your soul, none of it matters without action. Legacy demands that you do something with it. Not next week, not next year, not when it feels comfortable, but now. Because legacy doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't wait for the perfect conditions. It doesn't wait for applause. It is forged in action, one choice at a time, one step at a time, one sacrifice at a time. That is why legacy demands action, because action is the only language legacy understands, the only currency legacy accepts, the only proof legacy requires.